Greetings, Divine Nation. I am Minerva, your Aquariana Gateway Guide. Thank you for joining me today for lesson number 13. If you are new to this channel and you are here for the Aquariana Gateway lessons, please first watch the videos in the channel playlist entitled About the Aquariana Gateway Lessons for more information. Then, when you are sure you are ready to begin, start with Course 1, Lesson 1, as this program is designed to be taken in order for best results. Now, let's get started. Some new students on the path of self-mastery, especially those who haven't had former occult training, and I remind you that all occult means is secret, hidden. Sometimes these people find it difficult to adjust their thinking to where they can accept the fact that we have all lived in a physical body before this life and will do so again. Today we're going to be talking about reincarnation, and if you happen to be one who does not understand reincarnation, please do not make the mistake of saying you do not believe, because in doing so you close your mind to further knowledge on the subject. I suggest you keep your mind open on the subject, and somewhere along the path you will hear and see things that will lead you to realize the truth. What I'm about to share with you regarding reincarnation or rebirth has been given by the Masters of Light to enlighten the student on the path. Please just consider it if you are in doubt, and even if this does not satisfy your questioning mind, still keep your mind open, and future events will reveal the truth to you. Life is everlasting. The truth of rebirth or reincarnation is the philosophy held by at least 2/3 of the people on Earth today. The paramount desire of most people in every age has been for endless life, and a haunting fear has been that we cease to be. In almost every human religious teaching, it is the belief in the continuity of life that is the cornerstone of that faith. What some people call a newborn soul is not new, nor is it old, because the existence of spirit cannot be measured by time. It is immortal. It was, is, and ever will be. Most travelers on the path realize that we can never accomplish self-mastery in just one short span of life. It takes many incarnations of experience, and through the making and balancing out of karma, we eventually are brought about to where we even have a desire to enter upon the path of light and focus on our relationship with our higher self in the silence. Rebirth is another phase of life and consequently meets the need of every human soul. Its purpose is to satisfy questions relative to the soul which seem to spring to mind from some untraceable source. Rebirth is a spiritual phase of life and can only be understood by those whose spiritual eyes are open. In each rebirth, the soul is given fresh opportunity in physical matter to grow toward cosmic consciousness. Think of it as a tiny light that, for every effort it makes to glow, allows it to shine brighter and grow stronger. You see, life is encased in darkness, literally and figuratively. Life's light shines in the darkness of the material world. The object of life is for the true light of Source Divine to shine and manifest through the darkness. The life force which makes humans animate is the life force which is Source Divine. There is only one life force. The life force that is shared from Source Divine never disconnects from it. If it comes from the Divine Perfect, it must surely be released back to it perfect. The ego, the perception of individuality, is mortal. Consequently, its functions, powers, and capacities are mortal. There is only one life. There is no such condition as death. The before, the now, the hereafter are one. The fact of life ignores the limitations of time as we know it, so that the now of eternity is past, present, and future of every being in which life exists. The concept of pre-existence is an essential in the scheme of things, for life is eternal. It is because it was, and it will be because it is. If the soul is immortal, it must have existed prior to life on this physical plane. This life's law is the manifestation of nature and its relentless rebirth and regeneration. Nature has no place for death except as a means of reproducing life. Death is the birth of life, and all races of mankind, except those of the very first generation, seem to have known and recognized this fact. Life is a sequence of destruction and rebuilding. It is transformation of energy. Nature is never passive, and there is no such condition as the concept of waste in nature. Death does not destroy. It is nothing more than a cessation of an entity in one form so that it may be made manifest in another. It is not the cessation of life, but the transformation of it. All life must be complete within itself. Every manifestation of that life must have perfect correspondence with every other life and with every other form of life. An imperfect life in harmony with a perfect God is contradictory. Life on this plane alternates with life on other planes, but it is one life. It is the same life force. One is not in any way superior to the other, as this is impossible, as there is only the one. It is a continuity of the same. Though life has its duality in its beingness, its yin-yang, it is only one thing. Life on another plane is the harvest time of the life on the earth plane. The harvest of one life is the seed of the next. It is the process of perfecting by attainment, not atonement. Death is the relinquishment of the physical, for the time being, for another stage of the journey. People rise or sink according to their will. We are our own judge. We conform to the law by finding by doing so is its own reward, our infraction of it being our own punishment. We are challenged to master the desires of the flesh. The attainment of this condition is the realization of nirvana, which is not absorption into the absolute, but the full realization of the self. Growth is a law of life. The development of the soul to the fullest is never lost, nor is it complete until it attains a standard of perfection of the absolute reflecting its original state. The scheme of things, of which rebirth or reincarnation is part of the sequence, gives to us the field for growth into that condition which corresponds to the eternal will from which we came. To many minds, the incapacity to recall past lives presents a great difficulty in accepting the concept of reincarnation. But when it is understood that the faculty of memory can be used to liberate as well as to simply store up memories, then that difficulty often disappears. Memory is the record and recall of experience, the resurrection, we might call it, of other planes of life besides the present one. Since life is a whole, and there are many phases of the one life, there are spiritual properties which are stored with the records of the ages and attached to that particular age of which they are a part. Here I am referring to the Akashic records, which is a topic for another lesson. People have the capacity for attainment, though we may not be immediately conscious of it, but we must at some point become conscious of this power, its use, and the reasons for its use. This capacity may not be fully developed in this life, but it will be enjoyed in some future round because our life cannot be complete without self-development. We carry with us into the spiritual plane the good and evil of this experience. With the harvest of ripened grain, we must also carry the rotten fruit and the weeds. The one is as essential to our growth as the other. Whatsoever a man sows, he also reaps. These words of the Master Jesus are meaningless unless a place or condition of reaping exists. If the law is that man will reap in an earth life what he sows, or in other words, for those of you who have no connection to the agrarian culture, harvest what has been planted, then the law is observed more in its denial than in its fulfillment. You might ask, what about endless effect of so-called sin on the innocent, plunged into the vortex of the actions of others who seem to escape the consequences of their breaking of the law, notwithstanding that it and its justice are said to operate with exactitude throughout the universe? My answer to that is, no soul escapes the consequences of its actions, though they might not always be paid for fully in this current life on earth. If the soul sows unkindness, it cannot always reap roses, because at some point the thorns will catch up with him or her. Where there is sin, the victim will, slowly but inexorably, face that sin and will have to eliminate it. And the one upon whom the sin is perpetrated will one day meet the aggressor, and together they will somehow blend in common understanding, which is another name for love. I ask you this question. Are those who reject the principle of reincarnation prepared to say that the countless thousands of souls who have not had in this life the opportunity of, for example, freeing themselves from slavery, consequently doomed to never have an alternate experience? The justice of the law that requires a striking of balance is surely a sufficient answer to that question. And it is more obvious in its justice in that we are enabled to save ourselves and not be condemned forever for ignorance or ineptness or imperfection. Reincarnation is the personal assistant, so to speak, of justice. Physical birth is the method by which an earth body is provided for spiritual entities. It is the path by which the soul must resume its journey to nirvana. There is no death. Death is the return of the body to its non-physical parts. Nothing eternal is lost or destroyed in the process, since the soul is indestructible. Transformation in expression is destruction prior to reconstruction, disillusion to illusion. So death is the passageway or open door to another life. We cannot die, meaning we cannot cease to be immortal. What is called death is not extinction, neither is it a getaway leading to a condition of everlasting joy or misery. Man or woman is in this life, on this plane, an entity of what we call the astral world, and death is but a fuller consciousness of that world, a condition which is a waiting room for the ego to transform between the various realms of physical existence. Death is simply the passing through the threshold to another life phase. It is the harvesting of the present life, the warp and weft that form the web of experience which is woven into the garments of subsequent rebirths. The spirit is the only changeless constituent in man or woman. It must go ever forward, progressing, growing, developing, even when it seems to stall, plateau, or regress. The ego at death sheds a sheath of physical matter. In time, it realizes there are many lessons still unlearned during its earth sojourn, so it craves another incarnation by paths which lead to accomplishing those goals. It is only when the soul is naked, having been stripped of all the trappings of its earthly garment or body, that it awakens to fuller awareness of the need to eventually reincarnate and try again. It is often only at this time that the consciousness reveals the poverty of the soul, the meager attainment on the physical plane due to the misuse or non-use of its many opportunities for soul growth. It can awaken an intense sorrow for the life lived, and a hope, a desire, and a longing for a higher plane of physical attainment. This is when the soul agrees to return at the right time for that experience to be had, so it can try again on the earthly plane. You might ask, what is the influence of past lives upon the present one? This question assumes that there are more lives than one. Remember, this is not so. There is one life, though there are many manifestations of it. Each phase of existence on this plane is a link in the chain of continuity, which has neither beginning nor end. In the sense that yesterday is the step on which today stands, it is true that the past influences the present. Existence on this plane is a continuity of the same existence on another plane of being. There is nothing in any former life too unfit for you in the present, because even though your past life was lived very negatively, you did gain something positive that you have brought along into this life. And you must know that every gain must lead you nearer and nearer to your goal of self-growth by life lessons, to a condition we know as nirvana. The experiences of your life might not be remembered in detail in the next incarnation, but the impressions which they produce will remain. This is sometimes what you feel when you meet someone and feel as though you've known them, for better or worse, before. You see, you're never alone, but are encompassed by an invisible cloud of unseen witnesses and companions from previous lives. And some are also incarnate at the same time you are. In reality, there is no separation. You move ever upward on an arc of spiritual progress, hand in hand with those you have always known. With that, we end this lesson. Thank you for joining me today. Check back next week for lesson number 14. And remember to review this material throughout the coming week. It's very important to review the information. And come back every week for new lessons. If you have not already done so, give this video a thumbs up. Share it with those you believe would benefit from the Aquariana Gateway lessons. And be sure to subscribe to this channel and set the bell alert so you don't miss any uploads. Your comments are important to me. Your questions are too, so feel free to leave them below. If you find this information helpful to you in any way, click on the donation link in the description box or go to metaphysicsLessons.com and make a donation so we can continue to produce this content for worldwide distribution. If you would like a reading or consultation, please visit the metaphysicsLessons.com website, click on the Divination Studio menu link, and select your interest from the drop-down menu. Just follow the directions from there, and after you make your purchase, we can schedule your phone consult or you can submit your email questions. Blessings be upon you for your interest and attention. Wishing you so much love, light, peace, and prosperity. Minerva.